On the 22nd of July 2012, Tyson Mao announced that Rubik's Magic and Rubik's Master Magic were being removed from the WCA's event list. Any results after the 31st of December 2012 would no longer be recognised by the WCA. The last official results were on December the 30th, 2012 at Magic Revenge 2012 in Taiwan. A Rubik's Magic is comprised of 8 plastic tiles held together with strings. It folds and twists. The goal is to link these 3 rings. The Master Magic is a larger version with 12 tiles and 5 rings which instead go from linked to unlinked. The reason stated for the removal was inconsistent application of the regulations and the fact they aren't really proper puzzles, since the solve is the exact same thing over and over and over again. As a result, they weren't scrambled and had no inspection. You had your starting position instead of a scramble, which you then twisted and turned into the solve position. You had to place the puzzle flat at the start of the solve and it had to end flat too. There was a misalignment penalty, which isn't worded super clearly in the 2010 regs. And since it's the exact same thing every single time, you can learn everything you need to know about these events very quickly. The first step to solving a Rubik's Magic is easy. The first step is to go like that. Twist it anti-clockwise till it goes flat, move that flap up, move that flap to the left, move this flap all the way around, and then you have this flap that you move to the back, and then you go like that, and you've now solved a Rubik's Magic. As for Master Magic, just flip these 2 ones in, the left one goes down, the right one goes up, pull it back up, do a twist this time, same twist as before, this time go clockwise, pull that flap up, flip the magic over, and then do this on both sides. There is so little to learn and it all boils down to who can do a T-perm the fastest, which makes having multiple rounds kind of pointless. You could have everyone queue up for their round since there's no need for scramble secrecy. Magic was the fastest event in the WCA, with people getting sub 1 averages frequently, and even sub 0.8 second averages, mainly Yu Shuang Wang. Due to this, the timer start and stop is now a huge part of the solve, and since it is so fast, you can't easily see if all the regulations are followed. Looking at these fast singles, official and unofficial, we can see that the stops do look a bit sus. As you can see in real time, it can be tough to tell if there is a wrist stop or not. In many of these examples, it is hard to tell if the heel of the hand or the wrist is stopping the timer. Also, is the competitor still touching the magic? When all this happens so quickly and the competitor bounces their hand off the timer, it is so hard to tell if the timer stop is fully legal. Video evidence isn't clear with standard frame rates, and it just isn't feasible to expect all Magic and Master Magic solves to be filmed everywhere in the world, especially since you need that higher frame rate. Additionally, Regulation G1A in the 2010 regulation states the competitor may do practice solves on the competition timer. When the judge and competitor mutually agree, the official solutions begin. At that point, all solves will be treated as official solves. This reg could be abused by using slightly inattentive and/or inexperienced judges, by doing a bunch of practice solves, and when the competitor gets a good time, they decide that that counted as official. There's no distinction to the audience which solves are practice and which solves are official. There is never going to be a cube cover. You typically use the same puzzle for practice and official solves, and the competitor returns the magic to the starting position after their attempt. So the line between what counts as official and not isn't super clear. An audience from a distance wouldn't be able to tell unless informed. An experienced judge would be able to help with this, but you can't guarantee consistency everywhere in the world. Then there is the hardware. The wires can break, which makes your puzzle unusable. Think of it like an edge or a corner breaking on a square one, only it is much easier to do. You need to be careful with the magics. These twisting moves can damage the strings if you're not careful. You could try and address these issues by actually scrambling the magic. It will no longer be the same thing every single time, but that still won't fix these events. It would require a notation which seems very, 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 very hard to make. How do you account for all these moves? You can define a case by labeling the tiles and seeing which ones are connected to which. Every tile is connected to 2 other tiles and form a chain out of every tile. A tile has 4 sides, so a tile could be connected on opposite edges, adjacent edges, or 2 different tiles on the same edge. This gives us one way to describe the different shapes, but it's not enough, since a move like this, or this, or this, doesn't change the shape when defining it in this way, and those definitely should count as moves. This would have been a +2 after all. There is just so much you need to account for, and I doubt A simple, easy-to-learn notation could be developed. You could use pictures or something like these on Yap's site, but they aren't super easy to follow, and you would need it to be fairly large, so fitting 7 scrambles on a page might not be possible. How many of these would fit on a PDF viewer on a laptop? The accessibility of that notation would be poor. You can have 3D shapes too, so you need to decide if those counts and why. The hardware itself limits the moves you can do too. There are moves that you can define mathematically, but the hardware itself doesn't allow for, since you'd break the strings. Like going into this loop shape, you could turn it inside out if the strings could stretch infinitely, and the case you get is still valid. Scrambling in Magic or Master Magic would put a lot of stress on the strings, leading to them potentially breaking more often if you're not careful. And certain moves are more susceptible to breakage than others, so you'd need to be careful while doing them, which is hard to do at speed. Even if you could find a simple and easy to learn notation, it still wouldn't be a good event. There isn't a lot of complexity. It has the order of 100,000 scrambles and only around 1,000 shapes, which is 300 times less than 2x2, Pyraminx or Scube. You need to introduce a move cap too, which requires a solid definition of a move. Honestly, it doesn't seem crazy to learn an optimal solution for every case, or at the very least, to get a shape into like the starting position, and then get that to the solved position. Master Magic would have more cases, since it's a higher order version of the Magic, meaning it does have a higher level of complexity, but ultimately, it's just the same thing. It's just more of it, and it takes longer. And then there's the cube covers. For one, you don't want the magics changing during transportation by the runners, and for another, the Master Magic, when it's in its starting position, is longer than 4 3x3s, and this is a mini Master Magic. A regular sized one is a fair bit bigger, so the cover would need to be pretty large to account for all the possible states of a Master Magic. Magics aren't worth having in the WCA in any form. Having every solve be the exact same thing for 2 events is a lot, and it's also boring for competitors and for the spectators, since when you've seen one successful Magic or Master Magic solve, you've seen them all. So basically you just want to know what times the competitor is getting. And to avoid this, you would need a notation that would need to be super complex and likely hard to learn, and there are many logistical issues in having them scrambled for competitions. And even if those problems are solved, the puzzles are just too simple. It just isn't worth the effort to try and fix those issues, since what you get out of it isn't a quality event. Here's an alternate solution to the Master Magic. Here's an alternate solution to the Magic. Third solution with a song.
6 easy flips on the right hand side, 2 more on the left, turn the puzzle over, beautiful 4 flips, followed by 2 ugly on the bottom side and some other stuff. 6 on the left and we're done, and don't forget to wear your helmet.